I've spent my life studying the rhythms of economic history, not just the headlines or the numbers on a screen, but the deeper pulses that move behind them, the hidden forces that turn prosperity into panic and cycles into crises. As I look toward the year 2026, I feel a familiar unease, a subtle vibration in the global system that echoes warnings from the past. The signs are unmistakable. Every crisis leaves a fingerprint, and right now, they all point in the same direction. Not toward a prediction, but toward preparation. The people who survive the storms of history aren't the ones who guess the exact day the clouds appear. They're the ones who build structures that can withstand any weather and rise even higher once the skies clear. I learned this truth by studying the world's most infamous collapses: the 14th century Venetian banking failures, the 17th century Dutch tulip mania, the Panic of 1873, the Great Depression, the 2008 collapse. Beneath all of these economic earthquakes, one thing remained consistent. The people and institutions that emerged stronger always followed the same three-phase pattern. The architecture of resilience never changes. And that is exactly what I want to share with you. But first, let me tell you a truth I learned far too late. You can't beat a crisis by forecasting its exact shape. You can only beat it by understanding its nature. Crises change their costumes. Sometimes they appear as inflation, sometimes deflation, sometimes a debt implosion or war. But underneath the disguise, the engine that drives every collapse is fragility. A system stretched too thin, a household loaded with risk, a business borrowing from tomorrow to pay for today. And when the inevitable shock comes, that fragility becomes the fuse. So what is the threat approaching 2026? It's not 2008. It's not a housing bubble. This time, the pressure point sits much higher in government debt, corporate refinancing, and central banks that have run out of room to maneuver. This crisis will not begin at the bottom with subprime mortgages. It will begin at the top with government bonds. The world built the last decade of prosperity on cheap money. Now, the bill is coming due. The people who thrive in the next cycle will be the ones who prepare before that bill arrives. This brings me to the blueprint. It begins with stabilization, building a foundation strong enough to endure volatility. Then, adaptation, creating the flexibility to pivot as the world shifts. And finally, expansion, using crisis as an accelerator rather than a setback. This is the three-step pattern that rulers, merchants, and families have used for centuries to survive economic firestorms. Let's begin with step 1. Stabilization. No structure survives a storm without a solid foundation. When I study history's greatest financial survivors, the first thing they did was simple. They tightened their core. In practical terms, this means eliminating high-interest debt that could crush you. It means building liquidity, not just savings, but the ability to move quickly when opportunities appear. And it means simplifying your financial life so that no single shock can bring your entire system down. But here's the part most people misunderstand. Stabilization isn't about fear. It's about positioning. When you build a strong foundation, you gain the ability to stay calm while others panic. During the Great Depression, families with liquidity didn't just protect themselves, they acquired assets at prices never seen again. During the dot-com collapse, investors with strong reserves purchased the future companies like Amazon and Apple while others were liquidating everything. This is the quiet power of stability. It is the gateway to opportunity. Now, let's move to step 2, adaptation. Every crisis changes the rules, and the people who cling to the old rules lose everything. When the Industrial Revolution arrived, those who resisted adaptation fell behind. When the gold standard collapsed, investors who clung to outdated systems were wiped out. Adaptation isn't about prediction. It's about readiness. It means being willing to adjust your strategy based on new realities. In the coming years, we'll face pressures unlike any we've seen in decades. Governments struggling with debt, businesses facing refinancing cliffs, and geopolitical tensions threatening everything from energy to semiconductors. Adaptation means diversifying your sources of growth so you aren't dependent on any single economic condition. It means embracing new sectors that become more valuable during global shifts like infrastructure, energy transition, and cybersecurity. Your system must be flexible enough to bend without breaking. Finally, we arrive at step 3, expansion. This is the step that requires the most courage. Yet this is where every great fortune in history was built in it during the calm years. But during times of upheaval, when the world was reorganizing itself, after the Black Death, those who understood land values built dynasties. After World War II, those who acquired distressed industries laid the foundation for the modern corporate landscape. After 2008, those who bought real estate in distressed markets multiplied their wealth. Expansion during a crisis isn't gambling. It's the logical result of stabilization and adaptation. When your foundation is strong and your strategy is flexible, a crisis becomes a catalyst, not an obstacle. You gain strength from volatility instead of being shattered by it. And this is where history gives us its greatest insight. Humanity always rises after a crisis, but not equally. The people who enter a crisis unprepared spend years just trying to recover. The people who enter prepared spend years advancing. As I look toward 2026, I see a world that is about to change dramatically. But this is not a prophecy of despair. It is a reminder of a historical truth. Every ending creates a beginning. Every collapse creates a clearing. And every crisis creates a blueprint. If you know how to use it, stabilize your foundation, adapt your strategy, and expand when the world breaks open. This is the blueprint followed by every survivor, every builder, and every family that endured history's most violent financial storms. The blueprint of Venice, of Amsterdam, of London, and of America. And now, in our century, it's the blueprint for anyone who wants not just to survive 2026, but to rise because of it. Crises don't define us. Our preparation does. Our decisions do. The future doesn't belong to the lucky. It belongs to the prepared. That is the lesson of every age. And that is the path forward for anyone who refuses to be fragile in a fragile world. Thanks for watching. If this blueprint resonated with you, subscribe for more insights on how to navigate the road ahead.